Yes, here, have to help me. Can anybody send the assignment, title of the assignment to me? Huh? Do you have the assignment, no? Already I gave the assignment, isn't it? Huh? Isn't it? Hmm? Huh? Hello? Anybody? Rifan is there, no? Hello? Rifan? Are you there? Rifan? Huh? He's the rep of your batch, no? Hmm? But he's not there. But anyhow, please pass the message to the Rifan to contact me. Right. Now let's start. Whether the people joined or not, I have to do my work now. Right. Last class we until the importance of GDP completed. Right. With the continuation of the national income accounting. Today we are starting with the measurement of national output. That is GDP again. Right here, GDP means that gross domestic product. That's also measure of the income and expenditures of the economy. Also, this GDP is the total market value of all final products and services produced within a country in a given period of time. Already we learned this one also. And also, this GDP or national income also we can illustrate it use the income circular flow diagram as well. Right, where we will come to the income circular flow diagram a bit later. And the formula for the GDP, that is gross domestic product, is the sum of the consumption, investment, government spending, and net export. That means Y is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX. Here NX is the net export. Net export means export minus imports. Right? These four variables determine the GDP or national income. Right? Then the GDP also we can define in various ways. Here we are going to define nominal GDP as well as the real GDP, right? Nominal as well as the real. Here, let's see one by one. Here, nominal means the nominal gross domestic product and the real gross domestic product both are quantify the total value of the goods produced in a country in a given period. These two types of GDPs, that is nominal as well as real GDPs, calculated or measure the value of the goods and services that is produced in a country for a particular period of time. However, here the real means that is adjusted for inflation. You know that what is inflation and how this inflation affected the GDP. So once we consider the GDP inflation to calculating the national income, that gives the nominal GDP. But once we adjusted, when we consider the real GDP while adjusting the inflation, that gives the real GDP. Right here, the once we considered the adjustment of the inflation when calculating the GDP is GDP is different from the nominal, right? Nominal, you have to understand here that we are incorporating the fluctuations of the price, right? But when calculating the real GDP, we consider the inflation is constant, right? There is no changes in the or the based on the base year. We are calculating the GDP, right? Once you go through the central bank report, the GDP is in current, nominal, real, and the also they calculated the GDP based on the base year, right? You know that base year the policymakers consider that inflation is equal to 100, right? Based on that, they are calculating. That is called the real GDP as well. Once the adjustment of the inflation is not considered, that is called the nominal, right? Therefore, the real GDP is always slightly lower than the equivalent of nominal figure, because here we are consider the real GDP based on the base year, right? Therefore, the value of the GDP, real GDP, is lower than the nominal GDP, right? That means again, once the price increases, the increasing price incorporated while calculating or measuring the nominal GDP. But under the real GDP, whether the inflation increasing or the price levels is increasing or decreasing, that not will be incorporated, because here we consider the base year. The base year normally it is equal to 100, right? However, in the most circumstances, the real GDP that real GDP per capita as well shows a more accurate picture of the country's economic performance rather than the nominal, right? GDP is the accurate one because it is calculated based on the adjustment of the inflation, since it can be more easily compared to fast figures as well. What is the purpose of what is the purpose of calculating the GDP? To compare the figures with the fast years. For that easy purpose also, the real GDP is important or good. Therefore, here, deduce whether the country really is better or worse or year over year. Once we have the real GDP, measuring of the real GDP, that is easy to compare the previous year as well as the future years. That means that compare with the previous years, this year shows worse or better. Also, if it is worse, the policymakers or the government look forward the ways to rectify it. But also, if it is better, the if it is better, also they can take initiations to um, to improve further, right? To improve further. Just a minute. Just a minute. Right. Okay. Sorry. Right. Then the nominal GDP. The nominal GDP also calculated the same equation, that is C plus I plus D plus X minus M. Here we can explain further this nominal GDP using a numerical example. Here the consumption is given, that is $5 trillion, and cross investment also given 10, in government investment for exports as well as the imports, right? Using this information, we can calculate the nominal GDP, that is, consumption is 5, investment is 10 plus 4, that is private as well as the gross investment. Net export 2 minus 1, that is equal to 1. Once we calculated, the total GDP is equal to, total GDP is equal to 20, right? Is it correct? 15, 19 plus 1, 20, right? Also, once we calculated the real GDP, that is, to calculate the real GDP, we must discount the nominal GDP by the GDP deflated, right? That is here the difference between real GDP as well as the nominal GDP. The GDP deflator is a measure of the price level of new goods that are available in a country's domestic market. Right? Deflator means the measurement of the price levels of new goods. It includes prices for business, the government, the private consumers. The GDP deflation essentially removes the inflation, right, from the equation and enable us to compare the GDP of the recent year to the GDP of a target or the base year, right? Therefore, using the GDP deflator, right, the base year or target year will be considered. Then, based on the target year, the GDP, real GDP will be calculated. We can observe also using when we having the numerical example, right? Here, the different price indices, such as the consumer price index, could theoretically also be used in the calculation of the GDP. Right here, basically, the consumer CPI. You can observe the initially the base year for the CPI is 1952. Then graduate, right? What is the base year for last year base year to calculate the consumer price index? Huh? Base year. Huh? Anybody knows? Hmm? Huh? No. Then you have to find. Once you go through the central bank report, you can find. 2022 central bank report also released, right? Once you have the economics as a subject, you have to have familiar with the central bank report as well, right? Therefore, the base year is important to calculate the real GDP rather than the nominal GDP. Then only the real GDP give the actual figures of the GDP. Also, it is easy to compare with the previous years. However, CPI only considered prices for consumer goods and thus ignores the substantial part of the economy. You know that CPA, Consumer Price Index, only considered the Colombo metropolitan areas, right? The, that means only small portion are covered by the consumer price index. Therefore, the GDP deflator is the preferred measure, the equation for calculating real GDP. Therefore, only rather than the CPI, GDP deflator is the best one compared with the consumer price index CPI. Right? You have to know what are the differences between CPI as well as the GDP deflator. Right? Here, the GDP, real GDP is calculated using this equation, right? That means real GDP is base year dollars. That is equal to nominal GDP. Normally, the nominal GDP is there. The nominal GDP is multiplied by the GDP deflator, right? GDP deflator means GDP uh, deflator based on the year and current year, right? Once we multiply the GDP deflator, the nominal GDP, you can get the real GDP of the country, right? Here, this is the one of the example. In the year 2018, the nominal GDP of the country was 8 trillion, right? Using the year 2000, that means 2000 is the base year. The base year value is equal to 100, as I said earlier, right? And also the 2018 deflator is equal to 140. Therefore, you can calculate the real GDP like this, right? Based on the equation. Here, the nominal GDP is equal to 8 trillion, right? GDP deflator is base year divided by the current year. Current year, the prices are 140. The base year, 100. Once you multiply, the real GDP is equal to 5.8. Right here, you can observe the what are the differences between here real GDP as well as the nominal GDP. What is real GDP and what is the value of the real GDP and what is the value of the nominal GDP and what are the differences between these two and what are the advantages of these two. Can anybody? Can anybody? All the things will be reflect in your exam paper, right? Everything will reflect in your exam paper, isn't it? Right? Here the nominal GDP is 8, real GDP is 5.7. Because of the GDP deflator, right? The nominal GDP, real GDP is there, 5.7. Once you compare, the nominal GDP is higher than the real GDP because nominal GDP incorporated all the inflation figures, but nominal GDP removed the nominal GDP is calculated, measured by the adjustment of the inflation, right? Therefore, to compare with the previous years, rather than the nominal GDP, real GDP 5.7 is best, right? So the things or differences, advantages, and measurement of the real GDP as well as the nominal GDP. And the next one is the green GDP. What's green GDP? What is green GDP? The national income or output adjusted for the depletion of natural resources and degradation of environment, right? Degradation of environment. Right. National income or output adjusted for the depletion of natural resources and degradation of environment. Right. You know, the national income should be national income. Right. That is the also the actual national income is equal to the potential national income. But here the actual is not equal to the potential because of the accounting system, right? We are calculating the national income, but we never consider the environmental impact, right? Once we, because of that ignorance of the environmental impact, the national income will be higher, right? National income will be higher, but that is not the actual national income, right? Therefore, when we calculating the national income, the environmental impact or environmental degradation or depletion of the natural resource should be incorporated, right? Once we incorporated those natural resources degradation or depletion, that gives the green GDP, right? For an example here, national income is 100,000 and the cost of pollution is 30,000, then the green accounting or green GDP is equal to 70,000, right? 70,000. Here you can observe once we ignore the environmental pollution, right? What is the amount of the national income? GDP. What is the GDP? Hmm? What is the GDP? 100,000 is the GDP. But that 100 is not the actual one, right? Therefore, when we calculating the national income, the environmental pollution or the impact of the environment should be incorporated, right? And the another concept of the national income accounting is national disposable income, right? Here, the national disposable income is equal to national income plus net indirect taxes plus net current transfers from rest of the world, right? Here, the national disposable income, that is the total national income, then net indirect taxes. Also, we can add the net current transfers from the rest of the world give the national income, right? Net disposable income is the income which is the disposal of the nation as a whole for spending or disposal. What is this net disposable income, right? That is the income that can spend by the nation, right? Spent by the station. Also, the national disposable income is the maximum available income, right? Earn and transfer incomes from all resources that a nation can spend on consumption and saving without disposing of its assets to finance its expenditure, right? Therefore, the national disposable income important concept to the national income accounting. That is the income the whole nation can able to spend for the goods and services. And also the national disposable income, that is national net national disposable income is the plus other current transfers of the from the rest of the world, where current transfers from the rest of the world include item such as gifts as well as the aids. Right, these disposable income also incorporated the grant, aids, gift, reliefs from the rest of the world. And also, possible income can be net or gross, right? Net or gross can be it, gross national disposable income, that is included the depreciation, whereas net uh, uh, also you here you can differentiate between gross and net. Net's incorporated the depreciation and gross incorporated the depreciation and net incorporated the net exclusive of the depreciation. That's the differences between gross as well as the net. Right? Gross incorporates depreciation, whereas net exclude the depreciation. Right? Net national disposable income is the sum of the net national product at the MP or the market prices and net current transfers from rest of the world. Right here also disposable net national disposable income also that net national product at market prices. Also, that is the net current transfers from the rest of the world, means other foreign countries, also incorporated as the disposable income of the country that can be uh, uh, able to dispose in the goods and services, right? As against it, gross national disposable income is the sum of the national product at market prices, right? Also, that is the gross national product at market prices and net current transfers from rest of the world. The differences between these two are the consumption of fixed capital at national level, or for example, national deficit. Right? What is the consumption of fixed capital at national level? Right? That is the investment for the consumption. Right? Investment for the consumption. Also, we can show more elaborately using an equation. Gross national disposable income, that is equal to gross national production at market prices that plus net current transfers from the rest of the world. Also, net national disposable income, that is the net national product at market prices plus net current transfers from the world, right? Also, this is equal to gross national disposable income minus depreciation, right? So, using this equation, we can further elaborate the national disposable income plus also the net worth. Right, and these are some of the concepts to determine or to measure the nominal as well as the real GDPs. We considered the consumption, investment, government spending as well as the net imports. Consumption C means spending by the households on the goods and services. You know that households are the owners of production. They are selling their investment means equipment inventories and structures, including new housing. Right, all the type of investments are like the capital to purchasing the capital equipment, purchasing the inventories and structures, and including new housing are for the investment. And the government spending, normally we quote the G. The government spending are the spending on goods and services by the local government. This does not include transfer pay. We are not. Who is that? Please mute your MS2. Please mute your mic, please. Right. Right. This government spending does not incorporate the transfer payment because they are not made in exchange for currently produced goods and services. What is transfer payment? Huh? What is transfer payment? Savinda, what is transfer payment? Hmm? What is transfer payment? Hmm? Silent is the answer, isn't it? Huh? What is transfer payment? Huh? You don't know, or you feel that why I am answering? Huh? Or what is the purpose? Hmm? 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 Also find the meaning of the transfer payment as well. Right? Once you open, I can know. Right. And the net export, you know that imports minus export. Exports mean the country are producing goods and services and uh, uh, transfer or exchange to the other countries. Likewise, the other countries are producing goods and services and exchange to other countries. Once we subscribe the export minus imports, that gives the net export. Once the net export is positive, that lead to the national income higher. On the other hand, net export is in minus, that causes to reduce the GDP. Right. Right. Here again, the measurement of economics output. Here GNP, gross national product. Gross national product means GDP, gross domestic product, plus net factor income from the rest of the world. Right. That means rest of the net factor income from the rest of the world means the sometime the domestic laborers or factors of production work in other countries, that income should be come to the domestic country. Likewise, other countries people can work in the domestic countries, that should be go to their particular countries. Therefore, once we subscribe the one country to another country, that gives the net factor income, right? This also may be positive, can be positive or negative. If the net factor income positive, the GNP will be increased. If it is negative, GNP will be decreases, right? Here the net factor income from the rest of the world versus the difference between the earnings of particular residents in other countries and foreign residents in a particular year, right? The next one is the net national product. Net national product is the total income of nation residents, GNP minus losses from depreciation. You know that once we utilize the capital assets, right? there is some depreciation. To calculate the national income, we have to consider the depreciation as well. For an example, once we buy the machine, for an example, once we buy the machine in the first year, that give the say 100 product, right? Is it possible to next year the same 100? Huh? No, right? There may be some depreciation. So to calculate the net national product, to incorporate the depreciation as well. And the national income is the total income earned by the nation residents to the production of goods and services. This is the national income of the individual, right? Not the nation. Already we explained the nation's one. This is the individual earned by the nation's residents, right? It differs from NNP, right? Net national product, by excluding direct business taxes, such as sale taxes, including business subsidy. Here to calculate the national income, we are incorporated the taxes, or incorporated means subscript the taxes, but including the subsidy to calculate the national income, right? And the personal income. Personal income is the income that households and non-corporate governments receive. Right? That once the individual receive the income is called the personal income. Unlike national income, it excludes retained earnings and subscribes corporate tax, income taxes, and contributes for social insurance. Right? Also includes nearest incomes from holding government bonds and government transfer payment. This personal income also incorporated the whenever they have the other incomes, including the transfer payment. And the disposable personal income means the households and non-corporate businesses have left after satisfying all the obligations, that's the taxes, personal taxes. Disposable income means from the personal income, they have to subscribe the obligations to the government, such as personal tax. Once we subscribe the personal tax, personal tax from the personal income, that gives the disposable income. Only the disposable income can utilize for the purchasing of goods and services by the government sector as well as the business sector. That means after paying the tax, the balance income is called the disposable income. Right. Now we will move to the other portion, that is the circular flow diagram. Right. Here, the circular flow diagram summarizes the transition between the different economic agents. Right here, the different economic agents are the households, firms. Also, we can indicate that is business sector, government, as well as the foreign means the rest of the world. Also, normally we can divide the income circular flow into two. One for the closed economy, the another one for the open economy. And for the closed economy also, there are three sectors, right? Household sector, firm sector, as well as the government sector. Here, the households. Households are the owners of the factors of production, right? And this household sector sells their factors of production to the firm sector, and the firms are producing goods and services. Again, that goods and services are purchased by the household sector, right? And firms are the factors, higher factors of production to produce goods and services. The firms are purchasing the factors of production from the household sector, and they are producing goods and services using the factors of production. While they are buying the factors of production from the household sector, the firm sectors are giving the remuneration of the factors of production. Using that remuneration, the household sectors are purchasing the goods and services from the firm sector. And the government sector means they are providing transfers to the people to develop the community, right? By collecting taxes, right? How the government are spending uh, uh, to the society development, social development by collecting the taxes, right? The taxes collected by directly as well as the indirectly. Directly means nowadays, you can experience all the high income people, progressive tax. We call that one progressive tax. But in the progressive method, the people are paying the taxes, indirect taxes. Once we, whether we like or not, we have to pay the indirect taxes. Indirect taxes mean that is all the people are paying, even poor people also paying the indirect taxes uh, when they are when the prices of the commodities are increases, right? What is the reason for increasing the prices? Once the government impose the taxes, the suppliers show their action in their supply, right? That means supply will be decreased. Once the supply decreases, the price will be increased. By increasing prices bear by the consumers as well as the producers, right? That is depend on the value of the elasticity, right? So those things also you learned, I think, your first year, right? And let's move. Let's move the income circular flow one by one, right? There are one, two, three, four type of income circular flow. As I explained earlier, the one is the simple, simple circular flow. The second one is the saving and investment circular flow that is coming under the two-sector model. And three-sector model, the government, business of firm, as well as the government sector that is developed the three-sector model. And with this three-sector, once we incorporated the foreign sector, external sector, that gives the open economy or the four-sector model, right? Now let's move one by one. Here, income circular flow in a two-sector model. Before we explain this model, there are some assumptions, right? Here, the households spend their income on goods and services produced by firms. As I again explained earlier, right? The household sectors are the owners of the factors of production, right? They sell their factors of production to the firm sector. The firm sector buy that factors of production and give the prices for the factors of production. And using that factors of production, the firms are producing the goods and services and sell to the business, the household sector. Household sectors are buying the goods and services goods and services using that income of the factors of production, right? That is, the households spend their income on goods and services produced by the firms. Firms are producing goods and services using the factors of production, and the household sectors are purchasing the goods and services from the income of their factors of production. They do not hold any part of their income, right? All the income are spending. There is no saving by the government household sector. Also, there is no investment by the firm sector. The second one is that the firm produce goods and services only as much as demand by the households. What is this? There is no overproduction or underproduction. Right? Only as much as demanded. That means equilibrium. That is equilibrium. Again, demand is equal to supply. Right? There is no more inequilibrium. And firms makes factor payment to the household in the form of rent, wages, interest, and profit. This is already we see that these are the income of the factors of production of the household sector in the form of remuneration. There is no inflow or outflow of income of the goods and services any outside sources. That means there is no saving or there is no investment. All the income are circulated among the circulation, right? There is no other. Right? Based on the assumptions, this diagram explain or figure explain the two-sector model income circular flow. Right here, the firm sector, this is the household sector, right? You know that household sectors are the owners of the factors of production, right? They are providing their factor services to the firms. That is here this aroma, right? That is land, capital, labor, and partnership. The firms are providing or pay the factor payments in the form of wages, interest, rent, and profit. Right? Using these factors of production, the firm sectors are producing goods and services and sell that goods and services to the household sector. Right? The household sectors are purchasing the goods and services from the firm sector, and they are paying the money for the firm sector using this factor pay. Right? This is here. Once to further, you can listen. Here there are two loops, upper loop and lower loop. Upper loop indicate the payments. Yes, upper loop indicate the firm's household revenue sales by here the factor services and the goods and services, right? And upper loops means outside of the secular. That is indicate the goods transaction, right? They are exchanging the goods for goods, right? Here, the household sector transfer their factors of production, and firm sector are transfer the goods and services. Here, the firm sector are transfer the money, and again that money transfer the firm sector in the form of the payment of the goods and services, right? So there is that things also, the upper loop as well as the lower loop, right? And this diagram indicates the again, this indicates the two-sector model income circular flow, but there is injections and leakages, right? With the right previous uh, the previous explanation with the previous explanation, right? Here the household sectors save some of the money from their total income. Therefore, that is going out from the circular flow. That means the household sectors are save the money in the banks. Therefore, they reduce the consumption. Right? On the other hand, that household saving money in the financial institutions goes to the firm sector in the form of the investment, right? That is the engages, right? Or inflows. This is the savings are the outflows from the household. Investment are the inflows to the firm sector, right? This is the second model of our income circular flow, investment and saving circular flow. And this diagram explains the three-sector model, income circular flow, right? Initially, we explained the two-sector model, simple two-sector model, income circular flow. Next one, we explained the saving and investment method, right? With these two things, now we are going to incorporate the government sector, right? The government sectors are the institution to impose and collect the taxes as well as the government spending, right? Here, with the previous explanation, just we incorporated the government sector here, GS, maroon color. The household sectors are paying taxes to the government sector. Firm sector also paying the taxes, indirect taxes to the household sector. Sorry, government sector, right? At the same time, the government sector are spending to the household sector in the form of transfer payment or subsidy. Likewise, here to the government firm sector, the government sector paying the taxes, subsidies, right? In this way, the government sectors are interfere in the circular flow, right? Just with the previous one, here we incorporated the government sector, right? Again, here I have to tell something. You can observe in your exam paper. Normally, in your exam paper, you have experience in your first semester as well as the second semester. Now, in the second year, third semester, first semester, that is the third semester of your university life, I think you capture something. Right here, each and every question has the marks. Each and every question has the mark. For an example, imagine there's a question, explain the income circular flow for the three-sector model. The marks is given 8. How do you write the answer? 8 marks. How do you write the answer? Step by step, you have first you have to draw the diagram, right? If there is any assumptions, you have to write the assumptions also. Also, you have to briefly explain what is income secular for. Then assumption, then you can come to the question, right? Government, three-sector model. Three-sector model incorporated the government sector with the household sector as well as the firm sector. For the three-sector model, diagram is shown as follows, right? You have to clearly draw the diagram. This is very simple, but in past experience, people wrote something different, entirely different from this diagram and that diagram. Therefore, you have to be very careful. Not all the students, some of the students wrote the diagram entirely different. Right? Once there is this question, you have to briefly explain the relationship between two sectors. Simple model, two sector investment and saving model. Also, deeply explain the importance of government sector as well as the how the government sector implemented by the diagram. Right, those things should be important. Right. The last one or final one is the income secular flow for the core sector model or the foreign sector or the external sector. Here, the foreign sector consists of two kinds of international transactions. Two types of international transactions. The one is foreign trade. Foreign trade means export and import among the country or domestic country and the rest of the world. And the second one is the inflow and outflow of the capital. Right, because of the scarcity of resources, all the countries don't have enough capital or enough resources to produce the goods and services for their countries. Therefore, each and every countries depend on each and every countries for fulfill their needs and wants. Therefore, here the factor abandoned countries, factor abandoned countries inflow their factors to the factor deficit countries. Likewise, the factor deficit countries also, all the resources are equal to all the countries. Some of the resources are available some of the countries. Some of the resources are available at some of the countries. Therefore, there is some mutual inflows and outflows from the or among the countries. That's also coming under the external sector. Right? Just wait. Right. Therefore, there are two kinds of international transactions, but here we incorporate only one section, that is export and import of the goods and services. Also, to explain the four-sector model, we have to consider some of the assumptions. The first one is that the external sector consists only of export and import goods and services. Right? Here, there are two kinds of international transactions are there. However, under the fourth sector model, here we are consider only export and import goods and services. The export and import goods and non-labor services are made only by the firms. Right here, export and imports, also the non-labor services are the mode. And also here, we consider that the household export only labor, right? Export and import of goods and services. Here, the household sector export the labor services to the other countries of the world rather than the goods, right? Right. Based on these assumptions, here this diagram explains the foreign sector or the four sector income circular, right? Here, the household sector, firm sector, government sector. Right? Capital market is there. The capital market is there. You avoid that one. Try to no need to consider that one. Here, the here the household sector give the goods and factors of production to the firm sector, and firm sector give the factor payment, right? Factor payment, and the firm sector sells the goods and services to the household sector. Here, household sector give the consumer expenditure. This is the relationship between the households as well as the firm. Also, we consider this one is the two-sector model, income sector flow. Now, the three sector with this household firm, here the government sector, right? The government sector impose the direct taxes to the household sector, and the government sector impose the direct and indirect taxes to the firm sector, right? And also the government, the indirect taxes, the firm sector also pay the direct and indirect taxes to the government sector. The household sector also pay the direct taxes to the government, right? And the government assist or a government provide the subsidies or government purchases to the firm sector here, and also the government sector here provide the transfer payment salaries as well as the wages to the household sector, right? This is the three sector model. With these three, here we are adding the foreign sector or the external sector. This external sector, you can observe already in your assumption, household sectors only export its labor. Therefore, here the households are the exporting center of the labor. Therefore, they are exporting the labor to the foreign sector, and they are getting remittances for the remuneration of exporting the firm or income of the labor. And the firm sectors are here there is two things, right? The one is export, the another one is the import from between firms as well as the foreign sector, right? Firms producing goods and services and export to the foreign countries. Once they export the goods and services to the foreign countries, they receive the receipts, right? They receive the income. Therefore, the incomes goes to the firm sector from the foreign sector. Likewise, the foreign sectors or the firm sectors are importing the goods and services from the foreign sector. Therefore, the firm should be pay the money to the for the imports. Therefore, this aroma indicate that the firms are importing the goods and services from the foreign sector and pay the payment for the imports. Right? This is the explanation for the foreign sector. Again, this is in here two sectors, household and firm. You know what are the things happening between the firms and household. Then three sector. Here we are incorporating the government sector as the third sector. Third sector. The government sectors are collecting taxes from the firms as well as the household. Also, they are providing subsidy and transfers to the firm as well as the household sector. Further, we have to add the foreign sector to explain the four sector income circulars law. Once we add the foreign sector, here the foreign sector has two transaction, international transactions. The one is the export and import of the goods and services, and inflows and outflows of the capital. Here we only consider the export and import of goods and services. Also, the households only export the manpower or labor to the foreign countries. Once the household export the labor, the foreign currency, the foreign sector give or the household sector receive the foreign remittances from the rest of the world. Yes, at the same time, the firm sector involved in the export as well as the import. When they export their goods and services to the foreign sector, they receive the receipts for their exports. On the other hand, once they import the goods and services from the foreign sector, they have to pay the imports. Therefore, imports are the outflows from the country. Exports are the inflows to the country. Likewise, foreign foreign remittances also inflows to the country. Right. Likewise, the household sectors are exporting their labor to the foreign country. For that one, they are receiving the foreign remittances. That foreign remittances are inflow to the country, right? Also, here you can observe the transaction between foreign sector as well as the firms. There is net export, right? Imports and exports are there. Once we subscribe the imports from the exports, that gives the net export. Say again, explained earlier, it may be positive or negative. If it is positive, it is good for the country. If it is negative, it is bad for the country. The Sri Lankan history, still we are experiencing. That means after open economic system or rate liberalization, we are experiencing the trade balance in the minds, right? Because of that, also we are experiencing a severe economic crisis. Right. Wait a little bit. Right. However, there are some problems also to measuring the national output, right? The first one is the non-marketed items. GDP ignores transactions that do not take place in organized markets. Right? For an example, the services performed in the home, such as cleaning, cooking, childcare, painting of houses by the residents themselves, etc., go unrecorded. GDP statistics thus understate the true level of production in the country. Do you understand that part? Huh? All the activities are not considered when measuring the national income. That means non-marketed items. Non-marketed item means the housewife. Housewife. Once we appoint or assign a person to do that performance, we have to pay. That payment should be incorporated in the while calculating the national income, but that's performed by the person resides within the country, that lot will be considered. That is the problem. Once we incorporated that one, the national income will be increased. Once we avoid that one, that is not the true level of calculation, right? And the second one is they ignores the underground economy, right? Underground economy, illegal activities, right? There are certain economic activities that should have been included in the GDP account, but they are not shown up because the activities are either illegal or unreported. Unreported things are not incorporated in calculating the national income. For example, the teacher doing tuition work at home but does not declare income to avoid taxes. Right? The mother can, or the family members can, having the tuition to the people within the waiters and waitresses do not report all the trips to avoid paying taxes. The profits of illegal trade, such as truck sales, etc., also go unrecorded. These things are not considered when measuring the national income. And human cost of productions, right? If GDP increases as a result of people having to work for longer hours and in unhygienic conditions, its net benefit will be less to the citizen of a country, right? Those things also problem to calculating the national income. Then GDP ignores externalities. What is externalities? What is externalities? When there is industrial growth in the country, its side effects such as pollution of air, water, etc., are not taken into account. Therefore, we have to have the green national economy. Right? Once we have the green national economy, it shows the real national income or GDP. And these are some of the importance of national income accounting. What are the importance? The statistics provided by the national income accounting can be used to simplify the producers and techniques used to measure the aggregate input and output of the country. Right? Therefore, the statistics are very important. The data provided is used to frame government economic policies. What are the sectors should be developed? And it also helps in recognizing the system changes happening in the economy. Are we going to change our structure? Agriculture to industry, industry to agriculture, or agriculture industry to sales. For that purposes, the accounting is important. National income accounting provides information to the trend of economic activity level. Right? Normally, nowadays, 14% of the agriculture contribution to the GDP is 14. Right? 65% of industrial sector contribute to the GDP. Once we calculate or measure the GDP, these things already we know. Various social and economic phenomena can be explained through the data. Once we have the data, that also help to explain the social and economic phenomena. Where are we? What are the social activities we have to taken to improve the society? For that one, the national income is must, which helps the policymakers in framing better economic policies. Right? Central bank can use the national income accounting statistics to vary the rate of interest and set or revise the monetary policy. Monetary policy is implemented by the central bank, and under the monetary policy, there are interest rate, bank rate are there to revise those things. The national income accounting is important. Right? Revising means once there is inflation in the country, right, the interest rate should be revised. If there is deflation, that also not good. That's also revised. The data on GDP, investment and expenses also help the government to frame or modify policies regarding infrastructure spending and tax rates. Right? Once we have the data, based on the data, we can define everything. Investment, for the improvement of the GDP, expenses in which sector will be prioritized, right? Based on that, the infrastructure development as well as the imposition of the tax. The national income accounting data also shows the contribution of different sectors relative to each other towards economic growth. As I explained earlier, the agriculture sector. Agriculture sector, the agriculture sector contribute very less to the GDP, but we are the agriculture country. We are exporting more agriculture commodities. Because of the importing, we are facing the VOP deficit as well as the budget deficit. This is the threat for the economic growth. Therefore, it should be revised. Revised and adjustments, structural adjustment, the national income accounting is very important. For the indication of the economic growth, right? It indicates performance and the level of economic growth in an economy. The GDP is the indicator for the economic growth. The data on national income and per capita display the true picture of the health of the economy. Once the per capita income is high, the people are enjoying a healthy and better life. To calculate their standard of living of the people, the national income is important. Once all the people are living without any suffering, that is the good sign for the economic growth. If both are increasing continuously, it surely reflects the increasing economic welfare. Otherwise not. Like, to calculate these things, that economic, so GDP measurement is important. Helps to policy formulation, right? Statistical data of the national income or GDP, right? Not only helps in making economic analysis, but also help policy formulation. Based on the information, the policy formulations are there. Right nowadays, the big talks are there. The performance in the education. Why? What is the reason? Until tertiary education, that is free. But what is the relationship between education and economic growth? Therefore, that should be formulated or revised. Moreover, it is not only helps in formulating fiscal policy, monetary policy, foreign trade policy, but also helps in making modification and amendments wherever necessary. Rather than other policies like monetary, fiscal, foreign trade policies, the dynamics, right? The dynamic purposes, it should be must, right? It should be must. Right. Helpful in making comparisons. It helps us in comparing national income and per capita income of our country with those of other countries. Compare with other countries. What is the GDP in India? What is the GDP in Malaysia? What is the GDP in America? Right? Compare. And to analyze the strategies, what are the reasons for the higher GDP in this particular country? And what are the reasons for the lower GDP in other countries? How can we improve our country's GDP? For that purposes, it must be important. This may lead us to make suitable changes in our plans and approach to achieve rapid economic development of our country. Once we know the numerical data, statistical data, only we can know whatever we need. Otherwise, it is not possible. And helpful to trade unions. What is trade unions? National accounts through light on distribution of factor incomes, which is very helpful to trade unions and other labor organizations in making rational analysis of remuneration or laborers are getting. Trade union actions, trade unions. Now, I think last 2 months, nearly 1.5 months, no? The university lecturers are in trade union actions. Why? Based on the statistical information. Then the distribution of income. National income according describe distribution of national income in terms of factors like interest, rent, profit, and wages. It also shows the relative significance of the factors of production in the economy. Right? Income distribution, that means inequality, is a very big issue to the whole threat to the development of the country. Therefore, Once we calculate the per capita income of the country, individual of the country, that gives the accurate number. How many people are less than this income, or how many people are more than this income? How the country maintain the inequality. Based on that one, the policymakers should take initiation for the equal distribution of the income. For that purpose also, nowadays, Sri Lanka is implementing progressive tax. What is progressive tax? Hmm? What is progressive tax? Anybody? Hmm? Progressive tax means? Hmm? You don't know? Progressive tax? Hmm? You have to find it again. You have to find it. Progressive tax. The government is imposing the progressive tax to reduce the income inequality or distribution of the income. Right? With this one, we can finish our third chapter. Right? Under the third chapter, we learn that what is national income, what are the various definitions of national income, right? And the methods of calculating national income. There are three important methods of calculating national income: production method, income method, as well as the expenditure method. Though we calculated the national income using various methods, the final national income should be the same. Also, each and every methods we clearly learned. Under the production method, we consider the value addition method. Value addition method always ignore the double accounting system, right? And also we learn the concept related with the national income. Under that one, we learn GDP, real GDP, nominal GDP, importance of GDP, right? And national income, net national income, and then personal income, disposable income, the GDP deflator, those things we learn. Then we learn about the economic income circular flow. Normally, the income circular flow we can divide it into two: open and closed. Open economy incorporated the two-sector model as well as the three-sector model. Also, two-sector model also we can divide it into two: simple economy model as well as the income and saving method. Also, three-sector model incorporated with the two-sector model with the government sector in the third model. Also, government sectors are imposing taxes as well as providing the government spending. Further, the second model is the open economy model. Open economy model incorporated the external sector. The external sector has two type of international transaction. One is the export of goods and services as well as the inflow and outflow of the capital. Here we consider only the export and import of the goods and services based on the assumptions. We explained the four-sector model income circular flow. We already explained the income circular flow until the three-sector model. Just we add the four-sector model. Four-sector model once we incorporated the four sector model, that gives, that means household sector as well as the core sector model or foreign sector model, and the firms as well as the foreign sector model. Household sectors are exporting labor to the foreign sector and receiving the foreign remittances, right? Once the foreign remittances is high, the national income also increases, right? Also, you can observe due to the COVID and economic crisis, especially during the COVID, the foreign remittances are reduced and affect the economic growth of the country as well. Right. On the other hand, firm sectors are importing as well as the exporting goods and services from the foreign countries. Once they import the goods and services from the foreign country, they have to pay. That is the outflow of the country. On the other hand, once they export the goods and services to the foreign country, the payment or receipts of the exports are coming to the country. That is the inflow of the country. With this one, we discussed the problem to counting the national income. That is, the illegal activities are not considered. Then human activities also not considered. Then the services that the services getting from the residents are not considered. Those are some of the then also the environmental issues also not incorporated when calculating the national income. Also, we discuss some of the importance. You know that what are the importances to calculate the national income. Those things we discussed under this chapter, isn't it? Isn't it? Right. And the other chapter is, wait. Right. This one, no, I just remember. This is the Keynesian national income determinations, right? Under this national income determination, here Keynes theory explains that the aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. That aggregate demand, that is the equilibrium. Also, generally, there is two methods to derive the equilibrium. The one is the graphical method. The other one is the algebraic method, right? Also, here graphical method, I think, in your A level, you learn the graphical method. Therefore, here we don't touch the graphical method, but thoroughly we are moving through the algebraically method. Here, this algebraically method also we can go for like this two-sector model or simple economy model, three-sector model or the closed economy model, and four-sector model or the open economy model. Here, two-sector model also, as we learned the income circular flow, the saving and investment, as well as the aggregate demand, aggregate supply approach also we can observe. But under the three-sector model, there are four models. So the sub-models are there. Each and every models we have to look into. And finally, the four-sector model. Four-sector model, we have to incorporate the export and import to derive the national income. And let's see one by one. Here, the first one is the two-sector model. To explain the two-sector model or the simple economy model, there are assumptions. So the first assumption is the prices are constant, even aggregate demand and aggregate supply change. Right? This is applicable for all those model or three model. Already we described the three model. All three, this assumption is applicable for the all three models. Right? The prices are constant. Aggregate demand and aggregate supply change. That means there is no changes in the prices. There's no changes in the prices. Based on the assumptions, we can explain the two-sector model. Before we explain the two-sector model, we have to have some explanation about the all related concept and functions. The related concept and functions are there. The first one is the aggregate supply function. The second one is the aggregate demand function. The third one is the aggregate consumption function, the aggregate saving function, and the investment function. Those five functions are incorporated in the determination of national income, right? Before we have to calculate the national income, we have to learn these each and every functions, right? And this each and every function will be continued with by the next class. Okay? I have meeting 9:30.